G'day and welcome to Asliga.com. This is a video article. Hopefully we'll be doing a few of these regularly each week. And all we want to do is just point out a few things, a few stats that may help you improve your fantasy Premier League team, might help you, bring in a player that you might not have had your eye on otherwise, and hopefully get some green arrows and move up in your mini leagues. So today I want to talk about Stuart Downing. Now, hasn't had a great couple of seasons. I remember seeing an image on the internet a little while ago, and it was a picture of a seal with a soccer ball, and next to it was a picture of Stuart Downing, and underneath it said, one of these is a talented footballer, the other one is Stuart Downing. So he did cop quite a bit of criticism, especially whilst he was at Liverpool, but he appears to be playing good football now. And the stats seem to back that up. So basically, this is just our view player window. We can see all his information home and away. And we can see here that he has scored a total of 27 points. He scored 6 bonus points. And if you've had him in from the start of the season, he would have brought you 4.9 points per million that you've spent on him. He's been doing quite well at home, away from home, scoring a point every 9.9 minutes, and he's actually scored double the points away than he has at home. We can see here that his ALI is quite high, 11.7 overall. For those of you who don't know what the ALI is, it's basically our Asliga index score. It rates players' involvement in a game. It tells you if they're in the mix or not. It doesn't award for goals or assists because that can eschew the indication of whether they were heavily involved in the attack or not. For instance, if someone touches the ball twice and that's it, they could score 2 goals, which is great. But if you want to bring in a player who is performing consistently week to week, you want players who are taking a lot of shots, putting in a lot of key passes, and so on and so forth. So that's what the ALI helps you discover. He's got 3 fantasy returns. A fantasy return is a goal, assist, clean sheet, or a penalty save. We're moving right along. We can see that he's taken a total of 12 shots, 6 at home, 6 away. He scored one goal away from home. He's put in 37 crosses, 12 accurate crosses, and he's provided 2 assists, 16 key passes, and 62 final third passes. So if we just have a look at that as average per game, we will see that that works out to 7.4 crosses per game, 2.4 accurate crosses per game, and 3.2 key passes per game, which is all well and good. Now, what I want to do now is just see how all this information translates to within the context of his club. So what we've got here is our club center, and it just gives us all the information we want on West Ham. So they played 5 games, they've won 2, 1 away, 1 at home, etc., and so on and so forth. This is their recent form. They beat Liverpool last outing, drew with Hull. They lost to Southampton in game week 3. Now, this is what I want to look at now. This is basically a pie chart that gives us all the information regarding West Ham players and how they contribute within the overall ecosystem of their squad, let's say. Now, Stuart Downing has provided the most points with 27, which is 15.9% of all points provided by West Ham players this season. Now, I want to take a look at his crosses. We do this, we'll find out that Stuart Downing has put in 37.8% of all crosses from West Ham players this season, with 37. If we take a look at accurate crosses, we can see that Stuart Downing is putting 44.4% of all accurate crosses from West Ham players this season, which is quite high. If we have a look at key passes, we can see that Stuart Downing is putting 29.6% of all key passes for West Ham this season. And just for good measure, let's just take a look at shots. Stuart Downing's put in 19%, again, the most out of any player shots of all West Ham players this season. Now, this is important. Why? What this tells me is that if West Ham are going to score a goal, there is, I mean, this isn't exact science, but there is a roughly 20 to 40% chance, so let's say a 30% chance that Stuart Downing is going to have a hand in it, whether it be by scoring the goal himself by shooting or providing the assist. So if we have a look at West Ham's last few games, I mean, they were held to 1 goal against Southampton, but they have been scoring fairly freely. They scored 3 against Crystal Palace, they scored 2 against Hull, and they scored 3 against Liverpool as well. So that's fairly good odds for a fantasy return. Let's keep in mind as well that Stuart Downing, where is he? Stuart Downing only costs 5.5 million. As far as midfielders go, that's dirt cheap. They don't come much cheaper than that. So his upcoming fixtures, I mean, normally in recent years gone by, you would say that Manchester United was a hard fixture, but they're not doing so well right now. So West Ham go to Old Trafford, and you may back them to do well, considering that Manchester United shipped 5 goals last week. Then they go to QPR. QPR come to them, actually, and they're struggling, and they've also got Burnley, and these two teams are in 18th and 19th respectively. So the next 3 weeks, you would back Stuart Downing to pick up a few points. It does get a little bit trickier after that with Manchester City in game week 9, and then they take a trip to Stoke. The next thing I want to take a look at, just go to the statistics page. Now, basically, this is just our My Statistics page. It allows you to view and compare stats between players. So the first thing I want to do is, and when I was looking at Stuart Downing, this is the first thing I did. I thought, okay, let's compare him to midfielders in the same price bracket. But I went a little bit higher than the 5.5 price bracket because there's not a lot down there. And I said, let's go midfielders that cost 8 million, up to 8 million. And we can see Stuart Downing is 5th in the total points tally for midfielders that cost under 8 million. So I just want to compare these players. Just going to add Sigurdsson, Schneiderlin, Downing to be blue, Dyer, Chadley, and Larson. Okay. So on this graph now, this is the total points week to week. This is our game weeks. These are the points of the top 6 midfielders under 8 million. Now, I can compare different stats on this graph. So first thing I want to compare again is crosses. We can see out of all these players, every week, Stuart Downing has put in the most crosses. 10 in game week 1, 9 in game week 2, 5 in game week 3, and so on and so forth. So that's interesting. If we go to accurate crosses, again, aside from game week 3 where they were beaten by Southampton, Stuart Downing has put in the most crosses out of all these midfielders. If we take a look at key passes, again, aside from game week 3 where they were beaten by Southampton, Stuart Downing has had the most key passes every week, or at least equal most. Did quite well in game week 4 with 7 key passes, so that's quite interesting. The next thing I did when I was looking at Stuart Downing was I said, all right, well, that's pretty good. I wonder how he rates not only in relation to midfielders in his price bracket, but in these stats overall. So I changed this back to all, change that back to all, and then I just want to change this to crosses, accurate crosses, and key passes. Show. So that'll just load those statistics in this table for me. Now I can click on any of these headings to sort by that heading. If I look at crosses, Stuart Downing, out of all players in the Premier League this season, has put in the second most crosses with 37, behind Tadic, who is miles ahead on 57, but ahead of Moses, Cabella, and so on and so forth. As far as accurate crosses go, again, Downing is second out of all players in the Premier League with 12, one behind Moses. There was a game a couple of weeks back, Moses put in 25 crosses in one game. I can't remember which game that was, so no doubt that would have helped Moses that particular week. Now, even more interesting than these crosses is if we have a look at key passes. Out of all the players in the Premier League, Stuart Downing has put in the second most key passes, period. So he's 2 behind Fabregas and 1 ahead of Eden Hazard, which is pretty impressive. Now, I know there's some other players who have not played every game, like Di Maria, who I'm sure would be right up there. But again, we're talking about a player here that costs you 5.5 million. He's cheap as chips. If you're stretching your budget and you're looking for a cheap fifth midfielder, you could do a lot worse than Stuart Downing right now. And these stats just really go to show that. We can see that 3 of 5 games he's given you a fantasy return. That's what you want from players from the cheap players in your squad. You just want them to be able to pitch in when you need them. So I think he's definitely worth a look at. With Asliga, if you're trying to make a decision between him and another player, you can always use our play comparison. So I can go Downing, and maybe I want to compare him to someone else, Sigurdsson, roughly the same price bracket. And I can see how their stats stack up. I'm not going to go through it all, but I can compare their stats here as well. Might want to compare crosses, so on and so forth. Show the average per game. But yeah, I mean, you can compare if you're trying to make a decision between Downing and another player in your team. This is quite helpful. As we can see, Downing and Sigurdsson are quite well matched, quite similar. So that might be a tough decision. But that's it for now. I just wanted to show you that. I wanted to give you a little bit of information on Stuart Downing. Maybe consider bringing him into your squad. If you've got any questions, please get us on our Twitter at Asliga Official. And I hope you enjoyed this video article. Thank you very much.